Hello, friends.
Hello.
We just recorded the video.
Recorded.
Only we realized after recording the video that were not really recording the video because I had not pushed record.
Wow. That was awesome.
Thank you, son. Thank you. This is Jenny McIntyre, and this is
Simply JC.
and we are collabing
Yep.
in our review, recap, opinion, commentary of the third episode of season number 1 of 13 Reasons Why. And as we've said before, we do this out of love because we love you very much because, oh my gosh.
We love you guys.
We love you very much. And we have something very deep to say. We want to quote Hannah Baker and we want to say that everything affects everything.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yeah. No.
Casey, did you know that?
No. It's very shocking to me. Everything affects everything.
It's so deep.
I can't even process that in my brain.
It's so hard to wrap my mind around it.
I just can't think of it. It's totally not because it doesn't make sense at all. It's just, you know, I just can't wrap my mind.
I mean, if I itch my nose, that impacts the degree of itch on my nose.
Oh my gosh. If I click this, then that affects the click. Oh my goodness!
Oh my goodness!
I can't even use English words to describe how
if I type letters, I might come up with words and sentences.
Oh my!
Oh boy, Hannah, you were so right.
Oh my god!
I'm so glad Hannah is like a hypothetical fictional character because if not, we would be in serious trouble because we sure bully her.
Yeah, we really do. If anybody gets offended at this, we're very sorry. But I think we should all realize and respect that Hannah Baker in this show says a lot of stupid things.
Yes.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Very intelligent things that make a lot of sense. I'm sorry.
And since she's a fictional character, we can get away with telling her how stupid she acts, right?
Yep.
And the purpose is to tell you, if you're watching this, please don't be that stupid. Mm-hmm. Please don't.
And I just, before we get into this discussion, I just have a question for you, Jenny.
Yes, Simply JC.
Yes. So, what was the objective of the writer when he was writing the series, or she? Because it seems like the writer is trying to make us take Hannah's side. Yeah. Possibly. So I'm just wondering why he wrote Hannah Baker's character like he wrote it.
I know, right? Because it's hard to feel sorry for her. Mm-hmm. And it's also hard to imagine that all the horrible things in the world happen to one person. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, the things are not that horrible.
Yeah.
There are a few horrible things, but they are not that horrible. But even if we agree with Hannah that all of those things are horrible, why do they happen only to one person? Mm. Like, have you ever met someone like that it looks like they have a dark cloud over their heads? The dog died today, the next day they had a flat tire, the third day the grandmother died, there's like always a chaos, and that is what Hannah's life looks like. Mm-hmm. Here's my deal. There's only one place where people don't have problems. Mm-hmm. You know where is that?
Where is that?
The cemetery.
The cemetery?
If you're dead, you have no problems. Unless you didn't know Jesus as your Savior, in which case you have deep troubles. But that's a different topic for another day.
That is a different topic.
That's a different topic. But going back to that, if you're alive, you are going to have problems. And we need to be able to deal with those problems. We need to be able to cope with those problems. And obviously, Hannah had very little ability to cope. And unfortunately, her parents didn't seem to be paying a lot of attention to her inability to cope with life, general troubles. But let's go into the episode. Hannah says at some point, maybe you think that I'm a silly girl that makes big things out of every little thing, to which we say,
Sorry, Hannah, but we really think you are.
You are right on,
but
Hannah.
that means that her assumption is correct.
Ooh.
She's right.
She got something right.
Something right.
Yes.
So yes, your assumption is correct, Hannah.
You
Good
are
job.
absolutely right. Good.
Applause.
Hannah.
Applause.
All right. So, and then of course we take a look at Justin's life. And Justin has a horrible home life.
Yep.
His mom is very self-centered, has a series of boyfriends and stepdads, and Justin is super sad, and he's looking at all his trophies and all his accomplishments, but none of those things can fill the gap in his heart for true love of his mom.
And you know what he does to quote unquote fill this gap?
What does he do?
He hangs out with very, very troubled boys. He hangs out with them and does many things like swearing, alcohol, drugs, and he thinks that can solve the problem of his sadness.
And are actually hurting himself.
He's hurting himself, yeah.
Yeah.
Every day. I don't think they realize the consequences of drinking, smoking, and swearing and doing all this stuff. I don't think they know the effect that it'll have on their lives in the future for college and stuff like that.
And whether you're a teen or a young adult or an adult, just know that when you hurt your body, you're really only hurting yourself. It's not very smart. And if you are having problems with addiction, with drug, with alcohol, seek help before it becomes a problem too big for you to handle. There are a lot of ways that you can find help. There is the tobacco cessation programs. Just find help.
And also, I just want to mention, you seriously need to try to stay away from that stuff, because once you start doing it, you will get addicted. Your body will tell you, give me more, and if you stop, I literally just studied this today in health class. If you stop, you will legitimately get sick.
Withdrawal symptoms.
Yes, you will get sick and you will be terrible. The rehab process is it's terrible. It feels horrible. So I just advise you, please try to stay away from drugs. And if you are currently doing it right now, you might want to stop, even if it's hard. Even if it's hard, just seek help. Please do.
Yeah, if you have already started, seek help. If you haven't started, run the other way. Hannah's mom visits the school and tries to get information about Hannah and asks the principal, was she happy? And then she says something that really raised my eyebrows, because she says, sometimes Hannah at home was singing and was happy, and then some other times she was so sad and she didn't want to talk to anybody. If you're a parent and you're watching this, changes in moods like that, these drastic, constant changes in mood, they're normally an indication that some sort of abuse is taking place, that there's some sort of depression taking place. And so these are kind of things that parents or brothers and sisters, we need to be in the lookout for those things. If we see a loved one going through these constant changes of mood, these constant abysmal mood swings, we need to start paying attention, because they may be the indication that something more serious is happening, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in Hannah's case, they were an indication of her pitfall, that she was just descending into a pit of depression. And then, of course, there's this scene where there's a memorial in front of Hannah's locker, and Hannah's mother sees it, and Whitney is there, and the mom asks, were these all of Hannah's friends? And Whitney replies, yes. And then what does mom say?
The mom said, well, if they were Hannah's friends, they would know that Hannah thought roses were very cliche and she never liked them. What do you think of that, Mom?
I think that's very rude.
Yes.
I think that is very typical for people to express sorrow for someone's death by giving them flowers and roses. And I think...
What other way would you correct me if I'm wrong, when you go to a funeral or somebody's gravestones, it's pretty typical to put roses on their grave, right?
Absolutely. And so I think Hannah's mom is being as unreasonable as Hannah was. Like mother, like daughter. I hate to say it, but that's just very rude. And okay, granted, maybe she's speaking because she's in pain, but these are people, maybe too late, but these are people that are trying to show that they care. And, it's a way that supposedly these teenage students are trying to cope with the loss of a classmate. And so for Hannah's mom to react so rudely, I think is completely uncalled for, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, she seems very frustrated throughout the whole series, and obviously she's going about the whole situation very immaturely, which should not be the case in these type of situations.
absolutely. And we understand that if you've lost a child to suicide, you are going to be hurt. But, at the end of the day, no amount of rudeness or meanness to the people around you are going to bring your loved one back, right?
Yeah, it's just going to give you a terrible reputation as a mother who lost her daughter to suicide. Like, you're not supposed to act like that.
Yeah. Incidentally, she's trying to get information from the principal, and the principal's not going to give her any information because she has filed a legal suit against the school.
Lawyers involved.
Yep. And then the principal and the counselor are like, if only we would have known. Look at all the resources that we're spending on Hannah Baker now. Well, yeah, if you don't invest in preventing something, then you're going to have to invest in fixing the problem that creates. Right?
Yes.
And don't tell me that you had no idea, and let this be a lesson for all of us adults. We need to see literally the writing on the wall. There was writing on the wall of those bathrooms. Hannah's mom sees there were kids bullying each other, and those writings were on the wall. Are you telling me that no person in the faculty or the administration of the school saw the bullying, saw the writing, saw the profanity, saw the peer pressure?
I have no idea why they would not go into the bathroom and see that. I mean,
or address it, right?
Yeah.
And the reason we don't address these things is because we normally take the easy route. But this easy route in this particular case is costing them dearly, right? Well, Alex is feeling really guilty. And it is not clear at the beginning of the episode why he's feeling so guilty. But eventually it comes clean that Alex was trying to be sexually intimate with Jessica. And
we've introduced him, right?
Yeah, we've introduced Alex and Jessica in the last episode. They were a trio, Alex, Jessica, and Hannah at some point.
Monet's, right?
At Monet's. And then Alex and Jessica became a duo or a twosome or a couple and kind of pushed Hannah away, and then Hannah is trying supposedly to, first she reacts very immaturely.
Yes.
But on this episode she seems to be wanting to engage them. Unfortunately at this point they are having differences because Jessica is refusing to give in to Alex's sexual advances.
Yes.
And do you remember what Alex does to get back at Jessica? He creates a rumor that Hannah has been with him. And then he includes her name in the list, remarking about her butt being good, or she having the best butt, or something like that. And I don't know what to say, other than if you are watching this and you're being bullied like that in school, you have two options. Well, you have three options. You can play the victim as Hannah. You can just overlook it and ignore people. But if it's going to affect you deeply, like it affected Hannah, you need to speak to someone that can do something about it. Crying and playing the victim is not going to take you anywhere. Gizzy, I have to ask you something. Why would a child or a teenager that is experiencing peer pressure or that is being bullied, like Hannah was in this situation, why would you not seek help?
Well, I think that, I mean, obviously, you do have experience with people who have told you if you were put in that situation, to seek help. I just think she didn't have courage. Her parents, I don't want to say didn't raise her well enough because I do not know the full story, but obviously her parents didn't pay enough attention to her.
Yeah, those channels of communication were obviously not open. So if you're watching this and you're a parent, talk to your kids.
Yes.
Get to know them.
Frequently.
Yeah.
Frequently.
I mean, sometimes I ask JC or ask Jay, how was school? And they're like, okay. But I ask more questions, right? Because I want to really show interest in what's happening. And that's our job as parents, right? And if you're a teenager and your parents are not paying attention to you, tell them, Mom, Dad, I need you. Pay attention to me. Or if it's, right?
And obviously in this situation, I mean, apparently the mom knew that she was gloomy and stuff, and she really did nothing about it. But most parents, I advise you, even if you cannot identify how the child is feeling, still ask them, is everything okay? Are you doing okay? Even if it annoys them. Sometimes I get frustrated with my parents sometimes, and they ask me too many questions.
Yes,
It does not matter.
Yeah.
It does not matter. They are doing a great job in parenting.
And I tell them if they can roll their eyes all day long at me, I said, if you're not rolling your eyes at me, I'm not doing a good job as your mother.
Yeah.
You are supposed to be rolling. I am supposed to be annoying, and you are supposed to be rolling your eyes at me. But at the end of the day, they know me, I know them, and we know what's going on in our lives, right? Well, it looks then towards as the episode continues, we realize that Alex rejects Jessica's advances to get back at her. He creates a story that he's been intimate with Hannah, includes her in this list. Hannah is heartbroken, and I see over and over and over again in this whole series that Hannah decides to suffer in silence and to go the victim route. Nobody loves me, I'm suffering, people are bullying me, this is horrible, but she does not reach out for help. If you are watching this and you are being bullied, you are being criticized, you can't take peer pressure, speak up. There are your parents, there are your counselors at school, there are even 1-800 numbers for suicide prevention. There are 1-800 numbers for exploited children.
Yes, and we will put that up every episode. Just to let you guys know, we will put up the suicide prevention number every single episode. So if you guys are having trouble with that, please call the suicide hotline, because you always need to speak up and tell somebody about your situation.
Do not go at it alone. There's no need. You know, the Bible says in Genesis that when God created the world and he created the man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. That continues to be the truth even today. We are always better, as I like to say in my channel, we are always together. We are always better when we stick together. That's my mantra, and it's true, right?
Yeah, you always need to have people around you and make sure you have the right people around you.
Yeah. And so there's this flashback where Bryce sees Hannah buying chocolate at a store, decides to pay for it, and in the process grabs her butt.
Yeah.
And Hannah is in disbelief. And he says a few other rude things to her. And she runs out of the store crying. My question is, why wouldn't you report him? Why would you put up with it?
Yeah. It seems like she acts like mad and stuff like that towards other people when they do stuff that isn't even hurtful or anything. But when she's in this situation,
and something really bad happens,
yeah, she just does nothing about it.
she goes in complete inactivity.
She literally tells nobody about it until she decides to literally commit suicide.
Yeah. Again, don't go at it alone. And don't put up with that. Like, I can totally see why if somebody did something like that to me at the beginning, I would be in shock. But shake it off and do something. Speak up. She was in a public place. It was light as day. She could have reported him to police for harassment. And we'll see later in the series how that backfired. Because once you give a person, we have a saying in my country, sometimes when you give a person the little tip of your finger, they take the whole finger, the hand, sometimes the arm. Some people will get away with whatever they are allowed to get away with. And I think she gave Bryce a free pass there. And he assumed that he could continue disrespecting her, unfortunately. You know, bullies, they will have you if you let them. You have to stand up. And if you are not strong enough to stand up for yourself, then you need to seek help. Right? Speak up. And then probably the part that bothers me the most about this whole episode is Clay is visiting the store where Hannah went through that negative experience with Bryce. And
Oh my God.
he wants to get a sugary drink, and Bryce says, no, buy a beer.
Well, by sugary drink, I think he meant coffee.
Like a soda or coffee or whatever. And then what happens when Bryce tells him, no, have this beer?
Well, he gets peer pressured, which we have seen throughout this whole episode, and he just decides to let Bryce buy the beer for him. When they go to the cash register, he mentions that he's in high school to the cashier. So, and the cashier like gave him that look like, I know you're a good guy, you don't have to do this. He still just let Bryce do it. I don't know why. He could have easily just rejected him. I'm sure if he rejected him a few times, Bryce would stop.
Exactly. Just say no.
Yeah, and he took the beer. He went outside. He went to throw away, and he sees them, and they're like, "Yo, come over here." He could have easily not come over there and just threw it away and just went away.
Just say no.
It's not like they're gonna beat you up or anything. What's the
Say
worst they can
no. Exactly. Say no. Run away. Just don't do it. I mean, please, if somebody is pressuring you to do something, to drink, to do drugs, to have sex, to do something that you're not ready for, say no. Make sense?
Yes.
And then Alex is in the same group, and he had to play at a concert, and they also peer pressured him to stay behind, and then they
peer pressured him into actually quitting jazz band full time.
Yeah, to hang with them. What for? To swear and to do drugs and to do liquor. It's incredible. And so at the end of the episode, Clay and Alex race each other to see who can gulp the beer faster, and they both make themselves sick. And then Clay goes to his home, and his parents say, "Are you drunk?" He says, "Yes." And the next thing you know, he's throwing up on the table. I mean, what a catastrophe. Hannah plays the victim, allows Bryce to get away with murder. Clay and Alex succumb to peer pressure. What a mess. And profanity, 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 which makes us feel like we need a bath after, or maybe a shower, after watching this episode. So Alex is guilt. It feels guilt. He feels sad. He feels remorse for what he did. And he says, you kill Hannah Baker. I kill Hannah Baker. We all kill Hannah Baker.
Hannah Baker killed herself.
Hannah Baker killed herself.
She got herself involved with the people that supposedly are the reasons that she commits suicide. She didn't have to get herself involved with all those people.
And if she did get involved and things got out of control and she got hurt, she needed to speak up and reach out for help rather than being the victim. So, JC, we're going to wrap this up. And we want to tell you, if you're watching this and you're being bullied or harassed or hurt, first and foremost, we feel very sad for you that you're going through that. But second, we are asking you to speak up, to do something. Right?
Yes.
Crying and staying passive is not going to help you. Get it out, right?
Yes.
And what do you have to say about peer pressure?
Just don't fall into the temptation.
No. Bad company corrupts. So surround yourself with good company. And don't allow anybody to pressure you into doing something you're not ready to do.
And also, for the people who are trying to peer pressure you, if you deny, then you'll be setting a good example for them. And like, do you know how? I mean, I think Alex is a good guy. If Clay were to say no and tell them, like, give them a reasoning as to why he didn't do it, I think that would set a good example for the people who are hanging out with Bryce, he was like the leader, I guess.
Yeah.
That would set a good example for them to, like, stop hanging out with them and stuff. I mean, just don't do it, right? Just don't fall into it.
Just don't. And so, JC, I want to ask you, because I know that there was at some point in the school year a classmate that kept harassing you and asking you why you weren't dating, why you weren't going out with girls. How come, as a result of that bullying and harassment, you didn't go and got yourself a girlfriend?
First of all, I am not interested in that. I am only 11 years old. Second of all,
Smart.
I mean, that should be a reasoning by itself, but he was constantly going up to me, and it turned into just being annoying. He was he did it, like, purposely to annoy me at a certain point. I mean, at first he was just curious as to why, and he would keep on asking and asking, but then it just got to a point where he started being annoying. So I told my parents about it, and they gave me like a script, and I came. He did the same thing. He did the same thing the next school day, and I did this little script thing. I was like, dude, if you don't stop, my parents are gonna talk to the administrators. I said principal to scare the crap out of him even more. I just said the principal instead of administrators, and he was like, I'm not gonna do it again, but I really want to. I was happy because he backed off, and I told somebody, right? So there you go.
Yeah. So if you think something is too big for you, reach out to somebody else. And if that guy had not stopped, you better believe we would have been talking to that principal or administrator, and we would have said what's going on, because everybody deserves to be safe at school. I would have lost my mind if he didn't stop. Exactly. So again, the secret is to speak up, and the secret is to stand up to bullies, and the secret is for bullies to know that you are not alone and that there is someone backing you up. We're going to wrap up. This is episode 3 of season 1. I think we need like a theme song.
I was thinking the same thing.
Maybe we should do a theme song a cappella.
All right.
Ready? We haven't even practiced this. 1, 2, 3.
Speak up.
Don't succumb to peer pressure.
Speak up.
Don't go for it.
Speak up.
Don't fall. Don't be stupid.
Speak up.
Speak up.
Speak up.
Bye.